They said humans were unpredictable. I thought that was an insult until I met Captain Theo Vance. Now, before you think I'm exaggerating, let me clarify, I've seen unpredictable. I was there when the Verla accidentally launched themselves into a sun because they misunderstood the word ignite. I once watched a Korax fleet commander try to conquer a gas giant. But Theo took unpredictability, wrapped it in a sarcastic grin, and wore it like armor, and today, standing before the most sacred artifact of the Valshar Dominion, a relic said to only respond to the worthy warrior, he decided to hand it to his 4-year-old daughter. Yes. You heard that correctly, but hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me rewind a bit, because trust me, you need context to appreciate the full absurdity of this situation. The expedition to Ralith 9 began as any other, long, boring, and full of arguments about who forgot the thermal stabilizers. Ralith 9 wasn't exactly a vacation planet, it was more like an angry rock with delusions of grandeur. Volcanic ridges, toxic fogs, and sand that burned through alloy boots. But buried beneath all that was the Vault of Valor, an ancient structure supposedly older than the Dominion itself. The Dominion believed it held the heart of Valshar, an artifact of immense power. Legends said it could amplify courage, turn warriors into living legends, reshape destiny itself. Naturally, everyone wanted it, and naturally, the humans got their first. Our team, half Dominion, half human, arrived under the terms of a joint excavation. I, Commander Vector of the Valshar Guard, had the unenviable task of leading the diplomatic side. My mission, keep the humans from blowing themselves up, or worse, claiming divine ownership of something they didn't understand. When Theo stepped off the shuttle, sunglasses reflecting the molten horizon, I immediately knew this was going to be a long mission. Hey there, Lizard General, he said with a smirk. You must be the guy who keeps yelling at my emails. I am Commander Vector, I replied through gritted mandibles. And your messages lacked tactical precision. They had emojis, he said. That's tactical emotion. I should have left him on the landing pad. By the third day, we had breached the vault. The structure was magnificent, massive pillars carved with battle scenes, inscriptions glowing faintly in response to our presence. My scales shivered at the sheer weight of history pressing down on us.at. The center stood the artifact, a spherical object floating above a stone pedestal. Its surface shimmered with runic light, shifting between blue and silver. Around the pedestal, an inscription read, "Only the worthy warrior shall wield me." Everyone fell silent. Even Theo, for once, didn't crack a joke. Lieutenant Ara, my second-in-command, whispered, "Commander, what if it's a weapon?" I nodded. Then we must determine worthiness carefully. Or, Theo said, stepping forward, we could just try touching it. Do not. I barked. This artifact may respond violently to the unworthy. He raised an eyebrow. So, like my mother-in-law. Now, let's talk about Theo's daughter, Lila. She'd come along because the humans apparently believed archaeological missions were suitable for family bonding. She was small, curious, and completely unafraid of anything, including radiation warnings. I liked her instantly. She'd often wander around, poking alien consoles, asking me why my eyes glowed. Because I'm smarter than your dad, I told her, or why my armor smelled like space eggs. Theo always laughed and said she'd make a great diplomat one day. She certainly had more patience than her father anyway. As our scientists examined the artifact, carefully, respectfully, Theo crouched beside his daughter. You know, Peanut, he said. That shiny ball probably chooses warriors. Maybe one day it'll choose you. She giggled. I'm already a warrior, Daddy. Sure you are, he said. Especially against bedtime. Hours passed. Scans failed. The artifact refused to respond to anyone. It pulsed faintly when touched but remained inert. Ara proposed ancient DNA locks, psionic keys, ceremonial combat trials, theories upon theories. Each one more complicated than the last. Theo watched the entire process with his hands in his jacket pockets, occasionally humming some ancient earth tune about Eye of the Tiger. Then, casually, he said, "What if you're all overthinking it?" I turned. Overthinking? This device was crafted by an extinct civilization known for psychic weaponry. Yeah, he said. And yet, it still needs a worthy warrior. Maybe that's less about fighting and more about heart? I stared. Heart? He shrugged. You know, courage, compassion, that sort of thing. Stuff you can't measure with a scanner. You believe morality can trigger ancient technology? Stranger things have happened. I once saw a vending machine come to life after being kicked twice. He turned toward the pedestal. All right, let's test it. I immediately stepped between him and the artifact. Do not touch that sphere. He smirked. Relax. I'm not going to touch it. Then, before I could stop him, he picked up Lila and said, "She will." Now, you have to understand. Every instinct in my body screamed. I'd seen weapons disintegrate men stronger than Theo. The artifact's glow intensified the closer she got. The entire chamber hummed with energy, walls vibrating with unspoken warning, Theo. I roared. If your child disintegrates, the council will hang me and you. She won't, he said calmly. Trust me. Oh yes, because trust always works in ancient death vaults. But it was too late. Lila reached out her tiny hand. Her fingers brushed the sphere, and the light exploded. The artifact blazed brighter than a dying star. Energy surged through the room, lifting dust and debris in a spiraling current. My armor sensors overloaded. Everyone ducked, and then, silence. When the light faded, Lila was standing unharmed, giggling softly as the sphere floated beside her, orbiting like a pet. See, she said. It likes me. I didn't move for a full 30 seconds. My brain tried, and failed, to process what just happened. Theo grinned. Told ya. Worthy warrior, right here. The artifact, I managed to say. Bonded to a child? Hey, don't underestimate her, he said. She once defeated a whole jar of cookies in under a minute. The artifact pulsed gently, almost as if amused. Symbols rearranged themselves across its surface. My translator read one clear phrase, chosen guardian recognized. My tail twitched in disbelief. Impossible. Or, Theo said, adorable. News of the bonding spread quickly. Dominion High Command wanted to confiscate the artifact for study. The humans refused, arguing that Lila was now its rightful bearer. Tensions rose. Meetings were held. Words like custody and containment started flying around like plasma bolts. Through it all, Lila remained cheerful, treating the artifact like a toy. She named it Global. It followed her everywhere, occasionally zapping people who tried to take it away. I personally witnessed a Dominion scholar attempt to snatch it. Global responded with a shockwave that launched him into a wall. He survived, though his pride didn't. That was when I realized something profound and terrifying. The artifact wasn't a weapon. It was sentient, and for some unfathomable reason, it adored that tiny human. Weeks passed, and strange things began to happen. Our equipment started working more efficiently around Lila. Energy fluctuations stabilized when she entered a room. Even the hostile fauna outside the vault began avoiding our camp. Theo, naturally, took all this as confirmation of his dad knows best philosophy. One evening, while I was recording data logs, he sat beside me with a cup of some boiling human liquid he called coffee. So, big guy, he said. Still think we should have used your fancy combat trial thing? I exhaled slowly. I think the universe has a cruel sense of humor. He chuckled. Nah. Just practical. You all spend centuries searching for warriors with swords and scars. Turns out, sometimes the bravest ones are the ones who aren't scared of monsters under their bed. I stared at him. You're suggesting innocence equals worth? Why not, he said. She didn't come here wanting power. She just wanted to see shiny things. No ego. No greed. Just curiosity. I'll admit, his words unsettled me. For my people, worthiness was proven through battle. Honor. Sacrifice. But maybe we'd been wrong all along. That night, alarms blared. The Dominion strike team had arrived, without authorization. They wanted the artifact. And they weren't asking nicely. Theo grabbed his blaster. You handle the diplomacy, I'll handle the idiots. Do not provoke them. I ordered. He winked. Who, me? I'm the picture of restraint. By dawn, restraint had gone out the airlock. The Dominion soldiers stormed the vault, demanding surrender. Lila clung to her father, frightened for the first time. Global hovered protectively, its light dimming to a dangerous red. The commander stepped forward. Hand over the artifact, human. Theo smiled. You'll have to ask my kid. It doesn't seem to like bullies. The commander raised his weapon. Then both of you, he never finished. Global erupted, energy cascaded across the chamber, forming a barrier that threw the soldiers back like ragdolls. Their weapons melted. The ground trembled. I could barely stay upright, and in the center of it all stood Lila, eyes glowing the same light as the artifact. Theo turned toward me. You think that's normal? I gulped. Define normal. When the chaos subsided, the Dominion troops retreated. No casualties, just scorched egos and several fried exosuits. Lila collapsed in Theo's arms, exhausted but unharmed. Global dimmed to a gentle blue again, humming softly. As the dust settled, I realized something monumental had occurred. The artifact had not only bonded, it had protected. Theo looked at me. You're the historian here. What do you think it means? I hesitated. It means, the heart of Valshar has found its true guardian. And she's 4. He laughed, shaking his head. Guess we're rewriting history, huh? Yes, I said quietly. And possibly the laws of reality. But even as I said it, I couldn't help feeling something strange stirring in my chest, a mix of awe and fear. Because if a child could awaken power beyond understanding, then what would happen when she grew up? If anyone tells you humans are simple, make them meet Captain Theo Vance and his 4-year-old daughter, the galaxy's newest chosen guardian. After the artifact incident on Ralith 9, my life descended into what the humans call utter chaos. Not the kind of chaos that ends in explosions, well, not always, but the bureaucratic kind, where every superior officer sends you 4,000 encrypted messages labeled urgent while pretending they didn't just lose control of a galaxy-class relic to a child with pigtails. For the record, I don't handle bureaucracy well. I prefer clear threats, guns, bombs, asteroid storms. Paperwork? That's psychological warfare, and Theo? He was enjoying every moment of it. He'd stroll around camp, sipping that abominable black drink he called coffee, grinning at every panic-stricken Valshar officer. Relax, he'd say, the kid's doing fine. She hasn't vaporized anyone today. To him, that counted as progress. Lila spent her mornings teaching Global to fetch. Yes, fetch. The ancient, sentient artifact of courage and power, fetching pebbles. And it obeyed. Cheerfully, even, good job, Global, she'd say. The sphere would spin happily, glowing in delight. Every sensor reading we took around them made no sense. Energy spikes, reality distortions, gravity fluctuations, it was like standing next to a supernova trying to purr, but Lila didn't notice. She was too busy decorating Global with flower stickers. Ara, my ever-loyal lieutenant, whispered to me one morning, Commander, this is unprecedented. Understatement of the century, I muttered. We've gone from sacred relic to toddler toy. Theo overheard us and chuckled. Hey, if the universe wants to give my kid a god sphere, who am I to argue? By the end of the second week, something extraordinary began to happen. The vault itself started changing. The runes that once glowed faintly now pulsed in rhythm with Lila's laughter. Entire walls rearranged, revealing hidden corridors. The structure seemed alive, responding not to commands, but to emotion. Discovered a central chamber, a grand hall filled with stone guardians, silent for millennia. When Lila entered, they awakened. Not violently. Not even threateningly. They simply knelt. It was the most hauntingly beautiful sight I'd ever seen. Theo, naturally, broke the silence with a smirk. So, do I need to buy her a throne now? I glared at him. You find this amusing? Terrifyingly so. But the Dominion Council did not share our amusement. Their ships arrived in orbit 2 days later, massive carriers blotting out the stars. The message was simple: surrender the artifact and its bearer. Theo refused immediately. This isn't yours to take, he told them through the comms. It chose her. The Dominion High Chancellor responded coldly, it chose incorrectly. That's when Theo turned to me. You're the ranking Valshar here. You gonna let your people take my kid? I didn't answer right away. Duty screamed one thing. Conscience whispered another. Lila peeked out from behind him, holding Global protectively against her chest. The artifact shimmered softly, almost nervously. I exhaled. No, I said finally. Not today. Theo grinned. Knew I liked you, Lizard General. Commander, I corrected automatically. Sure, Commander Lizard General. We fortified the vault. My troops, those still loyal to me, took defensive positions. Theo's team set up portable shields, and Lila, well, she sat on a rock drawing stars in the dirt. Theo crouched beside her. Hey, Peanut, remember what I told you about bravery? She nodded solemnly. Even when you're scared, you do the right thing. That's my girl. At sunrise, the Dominion assault began. Orbital cannons thundered. The ground shook. Their soldiers advanced in shimmering waves of armor. Ara shouted coordinates. I barked orders. Plasma bolts lit the sky, and then, Global rose into the AIR. It floated above Lila, expanding, its light bursting into hundreds of radiant streams that wrapped around our defenses. Energy shields flared brighter, unbreakable. Weapons recharged instantly. The entire battlefield shifted in our favor. The Dominion troops fired relentlessly, but their bolts disintegrated midair. It was like watching fate itself choose sides. Theo looked at me, jaw tight. She's not doing that on purpose, is she? No, I said. The artifact is protecting her, and us. A single Dominion dreadnought tried to fire a planetary cannon. Global pulsed once, and the dreadnought vanished. No explosion. Just, gone. Silence followed. Even the Dominion soldiers froze, staring in disbelief, and then Lila said softly, I don't want anyone to get hurt. Her voice echoed through the battlefield, amplified by the artifact. Every soldier, human, Valshar, Dominion, heard her. Please, she said, stop fighting. The weapons lowered. The storm faded. The war ended because a 4-year-old asked nicely later, when the smoke cleared, the Dominion forces surrendered without another shot. The High Chancellor demanded an explanation, but none of us had one that made sense. Theo just shrugged. Guess the artifact found someone better at diplomacy than you. The Chancellor didn't laugh. I did. Quietly, after that day, everything changed. The Dominion couldn't deny what they'd seen. A child had united warriors and pacified fleets without a drop of blood. The artifact's legend grew overnight. Lila became a symbol, the little guardian. They called her. Scientists wanted to study her. Politicians wanted to use her. Theo wanted to protect her, and me? I just wanted to understand her. One night, I found her sitting by the glowing ruins, humming to Global. Commander Vector, she said cheerfully, not even turning around. How did you know it was me? I asked. Your armor makes clanky sounds, she said. And Global says you worry too much. I blinked. It talks to you? Not with words, she said. More like feelings. It's lonely. It waited a long time for someone to listen. I knelt beside her. Why you? She shrugged. Maybe because I said thank you. That sentence haunted me. For centuries, the Valshur had built temples, fought wars, written oaths, all to prove worth. But this tiny human, with paint on her hands and ribbons in her hair, had simply said thank you. That was worthiness, not dominance. Not conquest. Gratitude. When the council invited us to the capital to formally transfer guardianship, Theo refused outright. You're not locking her in some research facility, he said. The Chancellor's envoy glared. You cannot keep such power unmonitored. Theo smiled. Watch me. That's when Global made its opinion known, by gently melting the envoy's hovercraft. No one argued after that. Years passed. Layla grew. Global never left her side. It evolved as she did, adapting, changing color, forming shapes. It learned to speak through her voice. Together, they became something between legend and miracle. The humans called her Starborn. The Valshur called her the Heart's Voice. But to Theo, she was still Peanut. And to me, she was proof that perhaps the universe wasn't cruel, it was simply waiting for someone kind enough to listen. Now, I know what you're thinking. What happened to me? To Theo? To the Dominion. Well, the Dominion rebuilt, slowly. They renamed the vault, the Hall of the Guardian. It became a sanctuary, not a fortress. Theo retired, believe it or not. He opened a bar on Centera Station. Called it the Worthy Warrior. Every wall covered in pictures, Lila's drawings, expedition photos, even my portrait, which he defaced by drawing sunglasses over my eyes. Gotta keep you stylish, he said when I confronted him. And Lila? She visited sometimes. Older now, calm but powerful, Global still orbiting her like a loyal son. Uncle Vector, she said once, smiling. Global says it's almost ready. Ready for what? I asked. She looked up at the stars. To go home. That was the last time I saw her. One night, the stars over Centera flared brighter than ever before. The heart of Valshur ascended, Lila and Global vanishing into the void together. No explosion. No farewell. Just light, stretching across galaxies. 4 days, every sensor in known space went haywire. Energy readings spiked beyond comprehension. And then, calm Theo stood by the viewport, eyes wet but smiling. Guess she finally found where she belongs. I said nothing. Words felt too small. Months later, I received a transmission. No source. No encryption. Just a voice. Lila's voice. Thank you, Uncle Vector. Global says we're okay. The stars are beautiful. And don't worry. I'll make sure everyone stays safe. Then silence. For a long time, I just stared at the console. And then I laughed, quiet, disbelieving, almost joyful, because of course, the humans would turn destiny itself into a bedtime story. So here I am, years later, recording this log for whoever finds it next. The artifact, the girl, the war, all of it is now history. But sometimes, when the night is quiet, I swear I see a flicker in the sky, a faint blue light dancing among the constellations. Maybe it's her. Maybe it's Global. Maybe both, and if it is, then I hope she knows one thing, that the galaxy is safer, brighter, and infinitely stranger because of her, because once upon a time, the heart of Valshur said, worthy warrior only. And a human, with a grin and a complete lack of common sense, handed it to his 4-year-old daughter.